This is the Geoffrey and Richie Show. All sports, all talk.
Hello there, and welcome to the Geoffrey and Richie Sports Show, your weekly sports podcast. I'm Richie Benno, and I'd like to introduce my colleague, Geoffrey Boycott. Good morning, Geoffrey.
Morning, Richie. Morning, everybody.
How the devil are you?
I was very close to laughing, actually, as you were doing that intro. I'm not sure why.
Well, I've said the same thing for the past 20-odd weeks, but maybe there was a different tone of voice tonight.
Yeah, she sounds enthusiastic.
I am enthusiastic. There's absolutely no rhyme or reason for it whatsoever. But
Okay.
I feel like I could just surprise you with some crazy things tonight. So if I start some sections very quickly, you've got to be prepared for them.
Well,
I know you love it
try.
when I do that. I know you love it when I do that. But,
well, hopefully some of your enthusiasm and energy will kind of rub off on me.
I don't doubt it. I think I'm that infectious.
Well,
honestly,
I'm going to listen out for it.
I'm like a good HIV. I shouldn't say that, really, should I?
No.
I'm sorry. I'll reel it in a bit, but lots to come tonight. Brad's going to be back on the phone. I know the listeners can't wait for that, to talk about Super Bowl. I dare say some footy and some other bits and pieces. I think we should start with the tennis, though.
We should.
Did you watch the final?
I did. I made a massive effort of waking up slightly early on a Sunday morning and
Big
tuning
effort,
in.
well done.
Yeah.
That's the commitment you give.
And I've got to say, it was actually a good game if you can enjoy a game whereby the person that you're following loses. Certainly in the first two sets it wasn't too great, but in the third set he really valiantly fought, and I was willing, as I'm sure most of the crowd were, willing that Murray got that third set and pushed it into a fourth, because it was only in that third set that he upped his game to a level whereby he could have beaten Federer. You wonder to what degree mentally he was already struggling going into that third set. Obviously he did manage to raise it, but you know that is something that would obviously weigh on your mind, given that you've got to trawl it right the way back, and he was suffering obviously with a slight injury as well to I think his thigh, which didn't help. But it was a good match, given that Murray lost in straight sets.
I think the bottom line was, like you, I watched it. I didn't think Murray played badly, and you're right, he did up his game in that third set to where he needed to be, but I think his game in the first two sets would have been more than enough for 99% of people out there. And I think the bottom line is that Federer was just too good, and at the moment is still just too good.
He really is.
It's unbelievable. Obviously he's been his 16th slam and everything else, and he just continues to write records and everything else. But I think Murray should be dead proud. What did you make of the emotion showed by Murray after? Obviously he got a little bit upset in his post match speech, and we haven't really seen that side to him before.
I was surprised,
to
say the least, but I actually I quite appreciated it, because it made you realise, as much as you see Andy Murray being the angry, aggressive, shouting player on the court, that made you realise how desperate he is for this Grand Slam win. Yeah. And how hurt that he was. That he for one, perhaps he was a bit disappointed with the way he played, and for two, these opportunities aren't going to come around too often. As much as I think we all hope, and I think partly believe he will win a Grand Slam, he's not going to be like Federer, where he's going to be in God knows how many finals.
Absolutely.
So I think it was just one of those moments where he thought, God, I was so close. What could have been? I really hope this happens again, but please God, don't let me see this as my last opportunity and I've blown it.
Yeah, and anybody probably within his team and outside as well would say he is going to have lots of opportunities. Federer himself made the point. It was ironic that it was only 12 months ago that Federer was the one up there who couldn't get through his losing speech. He was that upset by what had happened and everything else. Obviously, very different stages of the career. I have to say I wouldn't go as far as say it was touching for Murray, because it just didn't. I don't know. I just didn't believe it the way, or I didn't feel the empathy or the sympathy as I would have done. I'm not saying it wasn't 100% genuine on his part. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I didn't expect this from you.
No, I'm not saying that. It was just seeing it for the first time, that side of him. With Federer, you knew he's got that side to him. We've seen him break down when he won his first Wimbledon. He just went mental in the post-match interview with Sue Barker, whenever it was, 03 or 02 or whatever.
Who wouldn't go mental in a post-match interview with Sue Barker?
Exactly. I just want it over with. But yeah, it was just I think you got it absolutely spot on. You could see how hurt he was. You could see he was shaking when they went up close. You could see, it wasn't anything was put on. I'm not suggesting for 1 second that it was. The only thing I would say, coming back to another point that you made, he will be, assuming he wins a Grand Slam, he will be older than Federer, Nadal, Del Potro, Sampras, Djokovic when they won their first. Really? And we all think yes, he's got time on his side, and yes, his time will come. And so in 3 years' time, for example, there is Federer is not going to be where he is now. Physically, he just can't.
I kind of hope, to be honest, that he isn't, because he reminds me a bit of Jonah Lomu, who was unstoppable in his day.
Okay, I wasn't expecting to throw the rugby comparison at me. I know what you mean. I was thinking about obviously laying a bet on the final. And I didn't in the end because I was really, really pulling for Murray. But what I should have done sensibly was just bet on Federer because he was rightly odds on, and he played, and he had been playing so well during the 2 weeks prior to the final. It was where the smart money should have been. And Murray was definitely underdog, and I like the fact Murray beforehand was saying, "Yeah, I want Federer. If I'm going to win one, I want to beat him." And that was great to hear. It was just, as I say, ultimately, he was just too good, I think, Federer. But as I say, he should, in theory, have lots of opportunities. I don't think Murray's going anywhere. I really don't. And, he is going to have his opportunities. I think Australia and the US are probably his best chances. Did you see, you probably wouldn't have done, to be fair, but there was Federer gave an interview after the semi-final with Jim Courier saying, the pressure that Murray's under. And he in fact, gave a very
did hear about it, yeah.
A very witty interview, all in all. It was great. And yeah, he made the joke about 150,000 years British pressure and everything else. And I don't think we can really, if Murray's feeling it halfway around the world, God knows what it must be like during Wimbledon 2 weeks, Wimbledon fortnight, and everything else. But I saw last night, to change the subject completely, I saw that Murray tweeted that he was going off to watch the Fulham Portsmouth game. I think after 2 weeks of hard endeavours, I'm not sure that's how I'd reward myself. No. Going to watch that game.
What was the score in that game? Or should we leave that until the football section?
Let's just leave it. Just to let you know, it was 1-0 Fulham. But yeah.
Is he a Fulham fan then?
I don't know. I assume he obviously must live in West London or must live.
One thing I would say actually about Andy Murray, and I don't know whether this is a conscious thing from him, but the number of times where he would say all the support from back home, rather than, because when he says back home, he doesn't mean us. He means from Scotland. He means from Dunblane.
He probably does. But he must know the support that he gets. I mean, the last couple of Wimbledons, particularly semi-final one, it's just been mental. Because there was always that thing with Henman that you thought he could, but let's face it, he won't. With Murray, it's he could and he might. And I think that's the big difference. And as I said before, he has got time aside. But I think it was an excellent one. He did everything he could do, and he just got beaten by the better man. But shame.
Geoffrey and Richie.
If you'd like to download the full version of the Geoffrey and Richie Sports Show, including a comprehensive roundup of the world of football, including FA Cup and Premier League ups and downs, the transfer window, and of course the winners and losers of the past 7 days of sports, go to iTunes. We are the Geoffrey and Richie Sports Show. You could email us. Our email address is geoffreyandrichie@hotmail.co.uk. You can check out our blog. That's geoffreyandrichie.libsyn.com. You will find us on Facebook. We're also on Twitter. The username is G&R_podcast.
This is the Geoffrey and Richie Show. All sports, all talk.